Hi everyone, Michelle here from the Creative Cove. Thanks for joining me today. Thought I'd do a video on my recent little doodles. I had a few people ask how I do them, and so I thought I'd share the process. It's a very fun process. It's about having fun with watercolors and then doodling on top of them. So you never know what you're going to get in the end, which is something I like because you either learn something about the material you're using, or you learn a little something about yourself. So these are some of the sketches that I did. I did some tiny little ones, and I started off with some really big ones here, like full-size sheets, and I just used different doodles, different kind of textures and patterns basically with a pen after. And here's another one. So this is a different color palette. This time I used a little bit of green and yellow in this one, as opposed to this one, which is kind of blue and brown. And you never know what you're going to get. And it's all about having fun with patterns and balance and just letting your imagination have some fun. And the point of these is really just to kind of let loose on your watercolor techniques and be playful. But you can also turn them into functional pieces after and make kind of cute little tags after if you want to use up your artwork. Or you can just simply put them in a frame because they are kind of unique and fun. And again, very unpredictable. You don't know what direction you're going to go in, which is something I really love about watercolor. So I did take the liberty of starting one because we do need it dry to sketch on. And I don't have editing software, so everything's pretty much live here. So what I did was I took a cheap watercolor paper book. Now this was given to me from a lady who doesn't watercolor anymore. So this is a really old book. I have no idea where you would get this, but it's a relatively, you can tell by the feel of it, it's a very relatively cheap thin watercolor paper. So it's great for these kind of projects, something where you're just experimenting and having fun. If you are working on something that you are going to want to keep or sell or frame, then I would highly recommend a good quality watercolor paper, something thick and something that you've tried in the past and you've liked. So this might be a little bit of a longer video because there's a lot of drawing involved. So I've made myself a tea and I'm going to have a sip before it gets too cold. And we'll get started. So I have a very messy watercolor palette here. I do teach seniors watercolors, so that's why I have such a mess here, because I've been playing. And I have about 20 of these palettes that never get cleaned out because watercolor can be reactivated with water. So it's great for that. It's very little waste in watercolor. So we're going to use these colors, I think, which I did pull the paints out because that's one of my biggest problems is remembering the colors of these paints. And I think we used for this one, we used burnt sienna, and there's one I can't pronounce, I can never read. And I think it's quinacridone gold deep, which is a really beautiful rusty color. I love it. And I think the blue that I used, I'm not 100% sure which blue it was, but I believe it's the phthalo blue. It's not an ultramarine, so I believe it's the phthalo blue. And these are the watercolor paints I'm using today. But you can use whatever you got. And again, the color palette that I choose, I'm really drawn to the blues and the browns. I don't know why. I've always just really loved that color combination, but maybe I'll try and switch it up. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. So I have my water. I have my paper towel somewhere. Here we go. And the way you can do this, so you can approach this two different ways. You can sketch first and do your doodles, or you can slap the watercolor down. So the way I did these drawings is I basically just found whatever was on my desk. This one might be a little easier. And I put some shapes in. So you do want to use a, this is the wrong pen. You do want to use a waterproof pen. So this is a Uni-bal Vision. So if it gets wet, once it's adhered onto paper, it doesn't bleed. So that's kind of important. And I'm just putting down some shapes here. very random. So whatever I've got on my desk, what else do I have? Oh, I have this little washi tape. Oh, speaking of that, this is washi tape that I use to separate, because I've been using masking tape and I really don't like the masking tape. It bleeds really badly. So I'm going to try washi tape. We'll see how it works. So you can pre-sketch, and then you can apply your color in accordance with the sketch, or you can just go all out, kind of free, which is the approach I like to do. So I'm using a number 10 round. So it's a pretty big watercolor brush, and I'm basically just putting in my color very randomly. I don't want to overthink it. I can wet parts of the paper and scoop up my color and drop that color in. And I really, if you've seen my other watercolor videos and my loose approaches, you'll see that nothing has really changed in the way that I apply my colors. This is just the way I like to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw some colors down that I like in a very random way. I'm going to splatter and let the color do what it wants to do. And that's one of the charming things about watercolor, is it just does its own thing. It just wants to do what it wants to do. And I just put puddles of water in and then dab that color in and just let it run its course. And it will create some really fun, beautiful, unpredictable shapes and make things really fun. I don't know how to describe it any more than that. I'm not very good at painting and talking at the same time. So I'm just going to maybe intensify a couple of spots just for some contrast. Maybe put a bit of Payne's Gray in this one. So there's no Payne's Gray in this one, but if I want something a little more dramatic, maybe. So here's my Payne's Gray. It's just going in. And again, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just dabbing it wherever. So I'm going to let that one dry. We'll move over to this one. Let's try some green in this one. Some bluish green by the looks of it. And I forgot to look to see what color that was. And these aren't super high quality paints either. Some green and blue. Maybe some yellow. So you can take your time and really focus on the way that you've drawn something already, but the whole point of this exercise and the overall look is just to be loose and not stress about any of it. So I'm just going to throw some yellow in. It will probably go pretty green. Maybe we'll put some yellow in this one. Sometimes it's nice just to put water down first and then drip the color, because colors, certain colors kind of repel from each other and other colors swirl and absorb into each other. It's really fun to discover what these colors will do. And of course you can always pre-mix a color. You know, you can put something different. So I want to do like a purple. You know, you can always make your own color, of course. That's kind of fun with the yellow. Maybe make it a little bit even more purple, a violet purple, just to offset that yellow a little bit. There you go. You never know. You never know what you're going to get. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit while we start working on this guy. So again, I just take whatever I have lying around, and in the last couple of cases, it's been a roll of tape. And I like to kind of offset my patterns. I try not to think about it too much, because it's not going to look like this in the end. It's going to change as you go. But I just really like this process. I thought it was a really fun process. So one of my favorite watercolor artists that I watch on YouTube is called Creationsceecee. You'll see how much her videos influence my drawings here, because her approach is very, very loose. and whimsical, but very sophisticated. And I find her videos kind of therapeutic. I don't know how to, I'm not very good with words, but she's really worth checking out if you want to learn how to really take your time with watercolor and really have a loose approach to it. She does a range of different things. She uses gold. She's the one who got me into using gold. And so she does this kind of thing where she'll put paint down and then build a paint picture on top using her, what she calls also doodles. I'm running out of breath. I'm talking so fast. I have my tea. But she's really, really great. I highly recommend checking out her channel. I think she's in Montreal. She's got some really great videos. So check her out. And another painter that I would recommend is a lady. Now, she doesn't do watercolor. She does acrylics, primarily acrylics. But she is called Thedanishpainter. And her videos are great as well because she also shows you how to really loosen your brush strokes. She has videos on specifically that. I remember I was doing a series of abstract paintings, and I was really struggling. They were very stiff and uninteresting and all of the above. And I put in Google how to loosen your brush strokes. Literally put that into YouTube, and her videos came up. And she really does show you ways to just put the paint down in a way that's so loose but so appealing at the same time. She primarily does kind of landscape abstracts, but really check her out too if you're looking at ways to loosen up your painting. Anyways, those are my recommendations for the day. I'll keep talking and talking. So the next thing I like to do, so I'll put some circles in my case, circles. I like the organic look with the organic kind of layout of the paint. But this has some pretty harsh edges too, so you could go geometrical. You can really do whatever you want. You can do flowers. There's really no wrong or right here. What we want to achieve now is a sense of balance in our drawing. So where I put my textures, I want to repeat those textures throughout. That's how I like to do things. And you'll see in that other lady's video, the Creationsceecee, her approach is different, but her results are also very balanced. So anyways, let's do some kind of, I want to do something kind of whimsical in this one. So it does have to be dry, and you do want to use a waterproof pen so that if you decide to add more paint after, it's not going to bleed on you. So I'm just going to doodle here. I'm just going to play with textures and patterns. And if you get stumped for a pattern, just go to Google and write the word patterns in there, and you'll get all kinds of things pop up with some fun patterns to it. And you can try kind of manipulate them and turn them into your own little patterns. But in this one, I think I'm going to do some fun leaves. And we're just going to see where this takes us. So I might bring you down just a little bit closer while I doodle here. And I hope you're following along with me. I hope you're going to give this a try. It's a really fun way to loosen up and see watercolor in a different way. So I'm just going to start with that. And another thing I like to do is I like to kind of outline the look of the watercolor, so where the colors transition. And go around like this. And then that. And I just kind of play with where these watercolor patterns have started and stopped between color. And it's already starting to break up my paper. So I let the watercolor kind of decide that. And then I can play on these lines with more pattern. So for example, I can make this a little bit deeper in line, so I can thicken up some of these lines. And then one of the things I like to do, and I'm sorry, I'm going to turn it because it's a little easier on my wrist, is I like to draw straight across on these. And I just take my time making patterns. So what I try to do is just create balance within these patterns. So sometimes the balance comes from the weight of the line, how thick the line is, how heavy, how dark. That's what I mean by weight of line. So the weight of this line is heavier than the weight of these lines because it's a thicker line. And then I'm just going to pull this over. Another thing that this kind of project does is it helps you with your hand-eye coordination. And it really helps you to kind of hold your pencil, or your pen in this case, and really steady your hand. And the more you do this, the better you'll get at it. So I put that texture in, or pattern. So sometimes I'll refer to it as a texture, which is usually what I refer to it to, or a pattern. So I'm going to take this pattern, I'm going to move it over here somewhere. And I think what I'm going to do is, hopefully I'm in frame, I'm going to pull this line and this color back out this way. And I'm going to fill in this space with this line. And you might be thinking, oh no, I would have put it in here. And that's totally fine. It's completely up to you and what you perceive. So none of these would ever be the same, which is part of the charm of watercolor. And just the softness behind these, in what I would call kind of industrial lines, really plays nicely together. I'm just really kind of pulling these lines down, and you can see my hand is not steady. I find as I draw more, my hand gets steady, but it takes a little while. Plus I've had a few coffees today. And now a tea. Okay, so I've repeated these patterns a little bit. So maybe we'll introduce another pattern. So I look at kind of these spaces in here, and I think, what do I want to put in there? So maybe I'll do something with like a circle. And the Uni-bal pen that I'm using is an ink flow pen. Normally I use a, what's it called? Like a felt tip pen. But because watercolor paper is textured, I find the felt tip pens, they get ruined very quickly. So this ink flow pen is a little bit different than the felt pen, because the felt pen, I find the ink is a bit more controlled. When this flow pen, the ink constantly flows as it's in contact with the paper. So if I were to hold it in a spot for a long period of time, it will just keep bleeding and bleeding and bleeding more and more ink. So I find I have to work a little faster with this style pen than I do my felt tip. So something to bear in mind with your tools. So now I'm just going to come back and maybe put circles inside my circles, because why not? And I just play with these patterns. Again, remembering to create a balance. And you can achieve balance several different ways. In this case, I'm repeating patterns throughout the whole image, so that it has a balance through texture. But you can also offset, where you put a heavy weight of drawing down here, and the amount of negative space in your drawing balances the two. And it's kind of hard to show that in this one because of the style I've decided to use with the with repeating the patterns. But again, it's something you can Google when you look up, say, you can type in something like balanced composition, and it will give you some ideas. And maybe we can do that in another video. We'll see if you guys like this video first. I never know what people want to see. So please let me know what you think. If this was fun, or if you're going to give it a try, or if it doesn't really apply to you. But either way, I would love to hear what you guys think or what you guys would like to see. And definitely go check out those other two channels. They're great. And if you have somebody that you watch, let me know, because I'll check them out. Okay, so we've repeated that pattern as well. And I think I'll repeat it and ignore these other lines and just put it on top here. Have it going a different direction. Because I do like these little delicate branches. Hopefully I'm still in frame. Have some tea. So you might be more in tune to be attracted to geometric shapes, like straight lines and pyramids and squares and rectangles. I find it interesting how we're drawn to different things, what appeals to us, what pleases our eye. And I think it's important to look at other people's work and be inspired by what their eye sees. So you can take ideas that people have come up with and kind of spin off those and create your own ideas. I'm just going to add another texture down here. And your different approaches, because every artist has their own approach. Okay. So I think we'll go something dark now. So maybe what we'll do is let's finish some circles in here. And I think we'll fill in the negative space dark, just for something different. So again, this is going to be a tediously slow video for coloring in. But I wanted to take you through the process of a whole piece. We're not going to do them all, but I wanted to finish this one with you. So I'm going to take my time coloring in, and of course you can fast forward this part. One day when I learn how to film properly and edit, I would speed this up so you don't have to watch it all and listen to me ramble. But you can see the dark here is starting to add a little bit of interest to the overall effect of this look. This little thumbnail we're doing. So it's about, once you start laying colors and patterns down too, it's a lot about positive and negative space is the way I look at this when I color it in. And that's part of the balance I was talking about. Is the overall composition balanced? Is it pleasing? Is there something that stands out? Is there something that should stand out? Is there a pattern you like more than the other? And again, this is really training your hand to take your time and actually stay in the line. So we stay out of the lines with the paint and we just go loose with that. And then we kind of wheel it in when it comes to coloring in this stuff. But I mean, that's not to say you can't do squiggly lines all over. I remember being a kid and we'd take a piece of paper and we'd take a black crayon and we'd make all these squiggly lines over a piece of paper. And then within those squiggly lines, we would color those shapes different colors and end up with a pattern, a random pattern, if that's even, is that an oxymoron? But you do, you end up with a color palette pattern, and again, you don't know what you're gonna get. So the little kid that did it next to me in their desk ended up with something completely different. And there's really no wrong or right to it, it's just having an experiment with color and textures. I think my pen's starting to die. I need another one. I've been doing a lot of drawing. I'll switch that out. That's better. You know you doodle a lot when you go through a lot of pens. But this is another way too, when I get creative blocks and I don't know what to draw or paint, or I've been doing the same thing over and over again, I kind of resort back to these sorts of techniques with loose approaches and patterns, and it really kind of gets my creative juices flowing again. And I think every artist or every creative person has that thing they revert back to. And this is one of mine. Sorry, I know this is kind of tedious, but you can always fast forward to the next spot. Or maybe you're coloring with me, which is also nice. Okay, we're almost done this section here. Okay, so then we'll have a look at it and see where we want to go next. Okay, so there it is so far, this little chunk here. So I've got this kind of rich dark pattern down here. I still have the fun of these circles. So what I think I'll do is thicken up some of the lines on these circles inside the circle. So I'm going to let these lines that have been drawn kind of dictate where to stop and start as I doodle here. I can kind of adjust what I like, what I don't like. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to rotate the paper because it's just too hard on my wrist. I'm just going to fill this in here. So that's kind of fun. I'll maybe do this one here where that line breaks. And you could double it up. So you could create a pattern going here where you kind of make another line. Maybe it breaks. Same in here, another line. And maybe a full line here. Practice that control, which can be challenging, especially on this paper that has the texture. That's kind of fun. It's added a little bit of darkness in there. So maybe we'll play with that on this side. And I'm gonna, sorry, I have to rotate the paper. I know it's a little disorientating, but if I don't, I won't get a nice edge. I have to work with my wrist here, not against it. I'm just gonna spin my paper. Just makes it easier on my wrist. And when you're doing a lot of these drawings, you want to be as comfortable as possible. So that's kind of fun. Thicken that line up a bit. Really pop the shape of that circle. There. Spin it back, sorry. Something like that. And we can play with that over here as well. So it's fun to kind of just let these shapes dictate what to color in. So I'm going to go inside this little circle for this one. And I think I'll do down here as well, on the inside of this circle. And they're just so much fun to doodle. And maybe, I think I'll draw a line going up here just to break that full shape. And then maybe do this one right here. Am I still in frame? Just color this in here. So you can see the watercolor dries a lot lighter than when it's first put on. So that's something else you can bear in mind. It's not going to be nearly as dark as when you paint it. Okay, so I think I'll play with a little bit of weight of line here. So I'm going to thicken this crease up here. Kind of looks like cracks. So we'll play with that idea. Kind of make it look like a crack. And it's very, again, very organic, very loose. And I showed you that one earlier where it was a very organic background, but I went very geometrical on the drawing, so that you can have that nice contrast too. Maybe repeat that down here just a smidge. Okay, I think we should repeat this pattern and this pattern. So I think I'll put this pattern right in here, just in that little section. And then this dark pattern, we can put, let's put it through this part of the circle, so it kind of looks like it flows maybe. I'm going to start right here and see what I think. So I'm going to do my circles. And so this is dark, so this is going to end up being part of this background now. And like I said, if you're stuck trying to think of patterns, definitely just Google patterns and you'll come up with all kinds of fun stuff. Okay, let's fill this in. Almost done. I would love to see if you are going to do these, to tag me on Instagram, because I would love to see what you guys are doing out there. Okay, let's fill this guy in. There. It's kind of fun. I kind of like the break between. But I think what I'll do, actually, is maybe incorporate this into this back piece here. So I'm just going to ignore that circle now and continue that pattern here. So you can see how incredibly unpredictable these drawings are, which makes them a lot of fun. So I'm going to try and make that into a circle there. We'll block that out. Got to do the inside here. And we'll color this in. And we'll have a look, see what else we might want to do. So I'm just trying to keep that balance going by introducing the textures and the patterns across in an organic way, like trying to have them kind of flow in between these shapes while we have this beautiful watercolor paper happening behind it. So I'm just going to try and color this in quickly. Have a sip of my tea. Okay, my hand's getting tired. All right, so that's kind of fun. It continued over. I think we'll just color that one in. Screwed that one up, so we'll just cover it. All right, I think it'd be fun to put more of these in. Just trying to think where to do it. So we could put, or maybe just another texture right now. Let's see, another pattern. What else could we do? We could do tiny little dots. So it's fun. You just kind of stare at it and think, what do you want to put where? So I kind of like this section right in here for something. Kind of comes all the way out here like this, which I like. So we could do maybe just black dots. Different sizes. Kind of the reverse of this pattern in a way. I'll do a really big one here. And you can splatter. The watercolor here is really fun in a texture too, which you can also play with. This is a great kind of relaxing Sunday morning, quiet coffee, bright sunshine kind of thing to do. I just find it so relaxing and kind of therapeutic. If you allow yourself to just have fun and not put pressure on yourself to produce something fantastic, it's just about just relaxing and letting your imagination and creative flow out. Because we always have that pressure of producing something really well. That these sorts of exercises really are a way to get away from that. You stop and think about the pattern and think about the texture. Just have fun. At least I find it fun. I hope you do too. It's cute. I mean, sometimes you can produce something really beautiful that just belongs in a frame. And it comes out of nowhere. You know, you didn't plan it. You didn't sit down and organize any sketches or anything. You just let yourself create and produce something really fun and pretty. And really using pretty cheap material, you know. Not spending a fortune on any of this. So I do want to finish this with you. I just don't know how long this video is so far. So I might just do a few more simplified textures, and then we'll peel this tape off so you can see it. I think this pen's running out of ink as well. I do have another one. I go through a lot of ink. I don't know if I have another one here. I don't think I do. All right, that's kind of fun. I think I'll add it down here as well. And this watercolor can take quite a bit of a beating from these pens. Yeah, I definitely need a new pen. I thought I took 3 out. Oops. But I guess I only took 2 out. I don't know if that's a, no, that's a pencil. there's any ink left in this one. Yep. Let's see how long this one lasts. I bought a 10-pack of these. This one's pretty empty too. And I think I've gone through 7 of them. That's how much doodling I've been doing. A lot. Yeah, this one's pretty empty. All right, well, we'll finish up this section. That one's even worse. And then we'll just do a few more little things and then we'll peel. I think you get the idea. Oh, they're all really dying on me. I thought these were all full. I want them dark. And like I said, you can go back with the watercolor if you want. If you use the right kind of pen. Because you can see we did the watercolor on this part here and it doesn't bleed at all. They're great for that. You just want something that says waterproof. It's kind of like an archival pen for documents. Okay, so let's just do one more stripey type pattern and then we'll leave it. So I think we'll add some more of this down stripe one here. And then we'll leave it be because it's nice to have a balance of busy and plain. So kind of positive and negative spacing. I'll do some in here. Again, this teaches you good hand-eye coordination. So take your time if you want it real straight. Okay, I'm not sure I like that, so I think I will cross hatch it. And maybe over here too. Okay, and maybe a little over here. And you can see the impact of the pattern on top of the watercolor and on top of the white paper and the different look it has. I think I'm going to cross hatch this. Something different. There. I think we'll pull one more little flowery bit out here because it's not as obvious anymore behind that crossed hatch. And I really like the look of this one. Maybe one more down here. And then that's it. Otherwise, this video will take forever. But you can see different patterns, and I'll show you my other ones as well again. They flew off the table. Okay, let's leave that for now. So you've got the negative space, and then you've got the patterned, and then you have the overall balance. So, I mean, you can keep going and keep going, But for video's sake, I'm going to end it here so that you can see. And the washi tape works really well, apparently. So I'll be using washi tape from now on my watercolor thumbnails, because I was using that painter's tape before and I didn't like it at all. This has really kept it waterproof, so I'm really happy with that. I'll just peel this away. And it comes off nice and neat too. It doesn't tear any paper because it's not overly sticky, as we know. Washi tape's been on the pricey side though, so I'll keep my eye open for other ways to tape these off. But there it is. It's a really cute little doodle. I'm going to show you up close some of the patterns. Very loose, very structured yet unstructured, if that makes sense. And it makes a nice little art piece. Let's see if I can reach my other ones here. Oh, there we go. So here's some, again, different patterns that I used. There's the same pattern I did before. I filled in some of the, again, drawing along the lines of the watercolor stain, and then just filling that in so that I get a nice balance of negative and positive spaces. So just to give you an idea. So I really hope you like that. I hope you give it a try. Please subscribe and hit the like button, and please share what you accomplished if you try this technique on the watercolor idea and the ink, and share it on Instagram with me. I'd love that. And also, if you have a chance, check out those aforementioned YouTubers. You'll get even more ideas and wonderful instructions from them. So thank you again for watching, and take care, everyone. Bye.